How's it going again, everyone? King Blacktooth here again. We're going to analyze the Alchemist card today. So the Alchemist only has several, maybe, let's say a handful of cards which it can utilize at the moment. So more cards get released that it can work with, the better he's going to be. But a card on his own is actually quite a very interesting card. So let's go over the Alchemist now, shall we? So the Alchemist is a 2-strength neutral troop card. So you can have 3 in a deck and anybody can have them in any deck, which is always nice. He's a loyal card, so he will go on your side of the field and you can place him on any row, melee, ranged or siege. His ability, the flask icon, is a subset of the Inspire ability, which is, the Inspire ability is the Commander's Horn ability, which doubles the strength, but it's a subset of that, so it does something a little different. It's called Inspire Fresh Recruits. And what it does, when played, doubles the strength of any non-hero unit without an ability on its row, unless there's another card with Inspire Fresh Recruits already on there. Now there aren't actually many cards that don't have abilities yet, but we'll get onto that later. So let's go over the positives and negatives of the Alchemist. First off, he's very much a deck enabler card. And what I mean by that is, he's a card which is going to allow you to build decks around him. And build decks which are out of the ordinary, which is really interesting. My brother had a card in Hearthstone which was classed as one of these, and he really enjoyed it because not many people ran it. It allowed him to build a deck. It was slightly weak, and it was the Hobgoblin, if you wanted to know. And this card is going to be very much like that. You can build a deck around this guy, or this ability should I say, and it will be so different. And you can do it for Monster, Squirtle, Northern Realms or Skellige. Maybe one is better than the other, but that's something you'll have to go through, won't you? But yeah, so a really interesting card. It allows a lot of variety when we get more cards coming in that we can see. So according to video evidence and the description, it doesn't actually place a glyph on the row that it's on. So if we compare that to Dandelion, which says when played, place an inspired glyph on its row, which doubles the strength of all non-hero unit cards. This one doesn't say that, it just says double the strength of any non-hero units without an ability on its row, unless there's another one present with fresh recruits. So a glyph is like your Commander's Horns, your Mushroom sockets, that you can only place one thing in. So the whole point about it not placing a glyph is kind of a big deal, which means you can double a card, say a Griffin, which is 8 strength at the moment. You could double this to 16 just with this card, and then you could place a Commander's Horn down as well, and that will double it again for 32. So it's a big deal that it doesn't place a glyph. Obviously this means if it's scorched or epidemicked, then it's going to remove that buff, which is it's quite a high priority target, this, so you want to make sure it's quite a valuable card as well. You want to make sure you protect it. Now I'm not going to put that it's scorchable or epidemickable into the negatives, because 2 strength is reasonable. I think, to be honest, it's not going to be one that is going to be easily targeted by Scorch. Epidemic maybe, but you definitely want to protect it. But it is kind of there that you want to just be careful with that. I'm not going to put it as a negative though, for now. Just be aware of it. So combos created with this card, using the previous method I just explained, which is double it with fresh recruits and then double it again with a Commander's Horns, are variable in strength. And what I mean by that is, unlike bond abilities or something like that which go up the same amount each time, so they're really highly scorchable, this card would create cards with high strength values based on their initial strength. So you could have cards with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 strength, and when they get doubled and doubled again, they're all going to be all over the place. So they're going to be hard to scorch, hard to epidemic and all that sort of business, because they are going to be all over the place based on their initial value. Now a lot of the cards without ability so far are 8 strength, Griffin, Wyvern, on Craite, Clansmen, stuff like that. We have seen Trollolo, he has 12 strength, so he'll be really good. So it might be worth taking this card for Northern Realms more so, because then you get access to Trollolo. We'll have to work that out later when more cards are released, but the whole point is it's actually quite variable and you get a lot of protection from using this kind of strategy over, say, bond cards, which are 1 scorch and you're done. So some comments about this card so far, which are negative, but I haven't put in the negative section because we've still got cards to release and we've got to see about that, is that you've only actually got 3 Alchemists available to you when you build a deck. So you can put 3 Alchemists in your deck, and he's the only one so far that's been released to us that we know any information about that has this ability. So it's going to be hard to build a deck around this guy, efficient deck anyway, because you've got what, 3 chances to get an Alchemist, which is going to, your whole deck is based around out of what, 25 cards ish. So it's not in your favor to build this deck at the present time, but more cards will be released, and hopefully we'll see some other cards with this ability. We did see a screenshot with one 8 strength card which had the same icon, so hopefully more cards with this ability will come out, which allows you to put a couple more in. I have no idea whether it was neutral or deck specific. I'll pull up the card and so you can see it, and make some assumptions on that if you want. Another comment is, few cards actually combo with it at the moment. So we've got the Wyvern, we've got the Griffin, monster deck specific, we've got Trollolo, which is Northern Realm specific, we've got Enclate Clansmen, which in one video evidence were 8 strength melee units with no ability, so they're Skellige specific. So really we haven't got many cards. They're all split between different decks so far. We haven't got any non-ability cards which work well just neutrally very much anyway, so they'd have to bring a lot of boring cards out. A lot of people say boring, but this card really makes them not boring. They'd have to bring a lot of those non-ability cards out to make this one at least viable in any sense, in my opinion. So we'll have to wait to see more cards before I put that into the negative or the positive. Now I have put one negative into this particular card, and that is it's only useful in the decks that it's built around. And I just mentioned that a second ago, I think. If we don't have many cards, or you don't have many non-ability cards, most decks don't have any non-ability cards in them. For the most part, we choose completely ability cards, because unless you have this card in your deck, then non-ability cards are usually worthless. The exception might be Trollolo or some 15 strength heroes, which this probably won't affect. So he's not worth taking unless you build a deck around him. Stealing them from your opponent, you'd only be stealing him or banishing him to stop them playing him again. But you wouldn't be taking him to use it on your own people, most likely. So that's his negative. So the whole idea with the Alchemist would be you would build a deck around Inspire Fresh Recruits. You would put 3 Alchemists in your deck. You would put other cards which hopefully had the Inspire Fresh Recruits ability in the future. Put those into your deck. Any cards that will give you a chance to pull out an Inspire Fresh Recruits card. So at the minute we haven't got anything that's specific. Like you might get a card in the future that's like Sheldon Skaggs, where instead of pulling one Mahakaman Guard, it pulls one Alchemist out. That would be really good as a character card. But for now we'd have to rely on spies to get a chance to get an Alchemist or something similar. You'd put in Commander's Horns, you would put in Commander's Horn choice cards instead maybe, and then fill up a lot of other things with non-ability unit cards, and hopefully of different varying values, so you can protect them all from Scorch a little bit, and then you can place an Alchemist down and place a Commander's Horn down, and you'd be like on your way. Obviously you'd want to work out whether you want clear weathers and weathers effects, or you know, that's all kind of side thing. You want to build a deck around that, whatever, however you want to build the remaining part of the deck, but that is the key part of the deck. So just thinking a little bit of which deck would work better than others with this sort of build. I would say Skellige or Northern Realms are looking pretty good so far, because Northern Realms you could duplicate one of these non-ability cards. Let's say a Griffin type card where it's 8 strength non-abilitied, and you know, we'll get it up to 32, and then you could duplicate it for another 32, which is nice. And they've got some nice bond ability cards, which are generally quite easy to do, but that's up to you if you want to do that. And they could also obviously draw another card when they lose, and they've got access to Trollolo, which is really nice. Skellige, on the other hand, have Clash on Craite leader card, which summons 2 on Craite Clansmen, and in the video evidence we've seen so far, they were 2 8 strength melee units with no ability, so 2 of them. So that's pretty good. They would work quite well, and you get to draw a card out on the 3rd turn into your hand, so that would work really well with Alchemist, so you could replay it on any row. But this is looking quite good. They're the 2 decks which seem to be better so far, and yeah, so you just build a deck around it, and hopefully we'll have to see when the game releases or on the beta whether it's actually viable. But that's how this card plays, and it makes it sound really interesting to me. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I think that's everything I've got to say about the Alchemist. A very interesting card. I can't wait to see more cards. And actually, if they bring out some boring cards, I recently heard that the K-Run, which is the monster card, which was really good in the previous game, in Old Gwent, he was really good. He was a monster card which had the agile ability, so you could place him on melee or ranged, and he had the morale boost as well, which was one of the first cards to have a dual ability in Old Gwent. He was really good, 8 strength as well. But I heard that he's just like a 10 strength or an 8 strength card with no ability, and everyone was going, oh, he sounds a bit crap. I can't believe they've kind of nerfed him. He sounds so boring. And I hope they release some more boring cards, because that will make this guy good, and it will make in turn those good. Okay, I want more variety, so more boring cards, please. And we'll see this guy skyrocket up his viability, and I'm excited to see more boring cards. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Take care.